Tally ho, fellow flight nerds. This is Ben Johnson here from FlightNerdAirForce.com, where we help aviation enthusiasts understand the world of aviation that they love so much and pass FAA written exams, because the gift of aviation should be available to anyone who has the passion to learn. So we're going to do some learning today. It's going to be really fun. We are flying from beautiful Door County, Wisconsin today. Door County, if you've ever seen a map of the state of Wisconsin, I know Michiganders like to do it this way, but kind of doing this backwards. Wisconsin has a bit of a thumb that sticks up on the eastern coast of Wisconsin, on the east side of the state, about halfway up along the Lake Michigan shoreline. And so it's a beautiful county. A lot of folks love to go there for vacation, and it's just beautiful coastline. Today I've got it actually set for the month of October, so we're gonna have some beautiful color in the trees as well today. So we're gonna really enjoy Door County, Wisconsin today. That's half the backdrop. But we're going to be talking instruments today. And the reason we're going to do this is because if you ever wanted to understand what's going on in an airplane as it's flying, or if you wanted to use your simulator, fly Microsoft Flight Simulator or whatever other simulator you enjoy, it's really helpful to know what you're looking at on the instrument panel. It'll help you know where you are, where you're going, what you're doing, to really enjoy the simulator in far more detail and just enjoy aviation in general. There's a lot of great things to learn from this. So we're going to take off today and we're going to cruise around Door County a bit. So let's get the airplane going here. All right, the airport we are at today is, oops, sorry, gotta get the right one here. There you go. Take the parking brake off, always helps. Okay, we are in Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin, which if you look at a map, you will see that Sturgeon Bay, there is a bay, ironically, Sturgeon Bay, not too ironic, it's actually quite literal, a bay of water that cuts across the peninsula and about a third of the way up the peninsula. That is Sturgeon Bay, and there's also a city there. And so this is Door County Cherryland Airport in Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin. And what we're going to do is we're going to head to the northeast and generally make our way toward a place called Washington Island, which is way off the tip of the peninsula. So as we do this, I wish I could have turned the blue rectangles off here. But those are in Microsoft Flight Simulator. They help you know where you're headed, help you do your navigation. But we're going to be looking at our instruments, so we're going to know where we're navigating. Check it out. Beautiful Door County scenery today from our Cessna 172. Cessna 172, the perfect trainer airplane, 4 seats. And today we have it set up. I'm going to try and give us a look at 2 different sets of instrumentation here. We have set up here right now what is traditionally known as the 6-pack. And I realize, first of all, that it's a little bit dark. The lighting here in the sim today is a little bit dark, and I was fussing with it. I was trying to get it so you could see the instruments a little more bright, but they are not going to be bright for us today. So we're going to do our best. We'll focus in on them a little bit, and we'll take an occasional glance out the window because it's gorgeous, and I wish I was there in Door County. Okay, so let's take a look at these instruments. Oh, it's gonna, every time I look away, it's gonna make me refocus in. Okay. This is our traditional set of instruments, known as the 6-pack. And you can see why it's known as a 6-pack, because there's 6 instruments. They look like a bunch of beer or soda cans, if you were to look at the ends. And so thus we call them the 6-pack. And from there's a system to these. They all work together. They help us understand what's going on inside the plane, and more importantly, what the plane is doing. Are we climbing, descending, turning? How fast are we moving? What is our relationship to what's going on outside of us? Super helpful. And so we're going to look at each of these today. Put my flaps up there. Okay, so we're heading to the northeast, and So we're going to start by focusing on this instrument right here. This is sort of the hub or the center of everything. It's called the attitude indicator. The attitude indicator is the instrument that shows us what our attitude is, believe it or not. And what we have here is it's a little orange line and a dot, right? And that is our imaginary airplane. And that is us. That is our relationship to the horizon. This instrument shows us our relationship to the horizon. So you can see here, I'm climbing, and I know that because the orange line is into the blue area up on the top. So if I was to level off, let's level the airplane off here and fly level. I'm going to back off the power a little bit. Get our airspeed situated here. Okay. Look at that. More gorgeous Door County up ahead. If we put that orange airplane right on this line between the blue and the brown, that means that we are flying straight and level. We are not climbing or descending, and we are not turning. If we wanted to climb and we pull the nose back, we will see that orange airplane moves up into the blue area, or it shows us in a nose high attitude. So that helps us to see how that we are climbing. If we were to descend, so let's put the nose of the plane down. You can kind of see this going on outside as well. We're going to put the nose down, and we are now descending. You can see that orange wing there, the little imaginary airplane, is down in the brown section, which is representing the ground. So we are heading more toward the ground than we are toward the sky. So that's a descent. That's how we know we're going down. We're descending. And this instrument also shows us when we turn. We can see, well, if we turn the airplane, let's make a left turn. We can see that the horizon in the instrument tilts, it turns. And so we can see our relationship to that horizon. So let's make a left turn here for a little bit. We'll head out more toward the coast again. And then if we make a right turn, it does the opposite. It shows the horizon line on there tips the other direction in relationship to the imaginary plane on the attitude indicator. And so what this helps us do, again, is understand our relationship to the horizon. And that's pretty much what it tells us. It tells us whether we are climbing, descending, or turning to the left or turning to the right. A couple other details here. Some of these marks on here are degrees of bank. So these are all 10 degrees of bank. So if I was to go turn to the left, you can see I'm on that first tick mark. That is a 10-degree bank turn. I go to the next one, that's 20. I go to the next one, that's 30. I go over here, I get to like 45, 60-degree bank turn. Cessnas aren't really made to do that, so it's not going to like it, and it's going to complain. I'm not careful, it might break the plane. Try not to do that, because we'll have to start all over. So now we're on a 30-degree right turn to the right, and we're descending a little bit, so we're going to climb here, get some altitude going for us again. Add a little bit of power. Okay, so that is our attitude indicator. And the reason we start with that is because it's kind of the hub of everything that we do while we're flying. If we want a quick glance at what's going on outside, we would look at our attitude indicator. Now, in aviation, there's two ways to fly, and I think it needs to be said that normally, if you don't have an instrument rating, if you're not rated to fly legally on just instruments, really your best way of knowing what you're doing is to do this. Oop, oop, look at that. Oop, oop, look at that. Is to fly by looking out of the windows. That is called visual flight rules. And for those who do not have an instrument rating, we are supposed to be flying by visual flight rules. And that means we look outside the plane and we look at the ground and see what our reference is to the horizon, okay? Visual flight rules, we need to use our eyes. Our instruments serve as a backup to a visual reference. They give us a far more detailed reference, and we need them in order to fly, especially when we get into controlled situations where, we have to fly a specific heading and we need to go, be very specific about how we're flying. Especially as it relates to our attitude indicator, though, most of what we want to be doing is looking outside the aircraft and using the attitude indicator as backup information. So as we do that, though, what we're going to be doing when we use the instruments is we're going to be beginning our reference with the attitude indicator as the hub. And from the attitude indicator, we will bounce out to other instruments to get other information that will help assist with the information that we're getting from the attitude indicator. So we call that our visual scan. And most of our visual scan might be like attitude indicator over to our airspeed indicator, back to our attitude indicator, down to our heading indicator, back up to our attitude indicator, over to the altimeter, and back down to the turn coordinator, back up, down to the vertical speed indicator, and back here. So again, this is our hub. We keep coming back to this, okay? So what other information then are we getting from our other instruments? Just to the right, to the left, give my left and right backwards here. Let me hold up my left and right thumbs here to help me. If we go to the left of the attitude indicator, we will see the airspeed indicator. The airspeed indicator shows us how fast we are moving through the air. That is not, and it's important to understand, that is not in reference to the ground. So you might be flying 100 knots of airspeed. Actually, we're doing about a little bit over 90 knots right now. You can kind of see on the airspeed indicator, maybe 92 or so knots. We might say for example, we're doing 90 knots of airspeed, but we have a 10 knot headwind. We would actually be going 90 knots through the air, but we would actually be going 80 knots over the ground because that headwind is pushing us backwards in a sense, in reference to the ground. So again, this is airspeed. Now, airspeed is really critical for us though, because airspeed makes the airplane fly. We need airspeed to get the airplane off the ground. And we'll see on some of these markings, color markings on here on the dial that will show us in airspeeds that are important to us. And one of those is, when is the airplane going to actually start flying? These arcs right here, the white arc and then the green arc, will show us, the bottom of these arcs will show us when the airplane will begin to fly. Now, the white arc is the flaps operation range here. If you're going to have the flaps down on this Cessna 172, this is the range that you can safely operate the flaps without doing damage to them. Okay. So, and I have the flaps up right now. But if I had them down, I would want to be very careful because my airspeed is up very close to the top of the arc on the flaps range here. But on the bottom end, this is where the airplane will begin to fly. This is basically the stall speed of the airplane with the flaps down. If we were to put the flaps down and we were coming to final approach, short of accelerated stall or anything like that, this is where basically the plane would stop flying with the flaps down. And so that becomes really important on takeoff and landing. Obviously, we don't want to fly below that. We don't want to try and take off before that. And we don't want to let the airspeed get below that while we are on final approach, because that would cause some very significant problems for us. We would stop flying and come out of the air. So that's the flaps, the white arc, which is the flaps operating range here. The green arc is the operational range, the safe operational range when the flaps are up. We don't have any flaps up. And so the bottom of the green arc, just like with the flaps down, the bottom of the green arc is the speed at which we will stop flying if the flaps are up. Okay. So say you wanted to take off with flaps up, which is perfectly acceptable. You would have to wait until you got up to this kind of airspeed to get up off the ground. So you can see the benefit of using flaps for takeoff, especially. You get another good number of knots, almost 10 knots, to help you get off the ground sooner and get climbing to get over any obstacles. But so the green arc, we can operate the aircraft with the flaps up safely inside this green arc right here. So yeah, we're way inside the green arc. Our flaps are up, so we are very much in the safe range for operating the plane. The top of the green arc is the top of the safe range for operating with flaps up. You can operate faster than that, but in this yellow arc, but this is a caution range. If you're going to operate going this fast, which is a really rare thing to do in a Cessna like this, you are risking physically damaging the airplane. Like if you were to get in a situation where there's a lot of turbulence, sudden changes like turbulence might stress the airplane, stress the physical airplane, and you might bend it. So you have to be very careful of that. But if you're down in the green, you're fine, and you can be in relatively turbulent situations and still be okay. There is an operational speed that if you were to get in severe turbulence, you would want to aim for that. That is not marked on here. But there is a speed for that, and you would use that speed when you got into turbulent situations to avoid hurting the aircraft. But you can operate up in this speed range if it's a clear, smooth air day, perfectly acceptable. And then this red line up here is the never exceed speed. You never want to go faster than the speed because you will break the plane. It is not good for the plane. You will physically stress it, maybe break it, things like that. So very unsafe to go up above and beyond this. Thing with a Cessna 172 like this is you would almost have to be diving with power on. It's tough to get up to that kind of speed in a plane like this. So this doesn't like to fly that fast. So, and you can see here, we are doing about 95, 96, slowing down a little bit here. 95, 96 knots, slowing down a little bit. There, 90 knots. Ooh. There. So, so you can see actually something's already happening. We talked about that these instruments work together, and you can already see that starting to happen. Here's my attitude indicator. What happens if I pull the nose back and I start to climb? Is there a relationship between this climbing and what happens on the airspeed indicator? Look at that. My airspeed starts to decrease as I climb because the airplane is fighting gravity. But what happens if I put the nose down? Look at that, where you're descending and we are significantly increasing in airspeed. So there's a relationship between these two instruments and what they're showing us. If one of these instruments would fail, for example, if we lost our attitude indicator, one way to see what was going on as far as our attitude would be to look over here at our airspeed indicator. And if we're not changing power settings, we're not using more or less throttle, keeping a consistent throttle, if the airspeed starts picking up, we can go, I might be in a descent. And if the airspeed starts to drop, that might mean we're climbing. And so even if your attitude indicator isn't working, you can correct for that and know what's going on. So hopefully it is working, however. All right, we're going to take a quick break from looking at the instruments to look out the window. We got water on our right, and we got beautiful Door County on the right side. Did I just say to the right? To the left. To the left, we have beautiful... this is actually Green Bay, which is a part of Lake Michigan. It's a bay off of Lake Michigan. Way off in the distance here, you can see the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. That's actually part of Michigan, though we are flying over Wisconsin. This bay, if you were to follow it to the south, would take you to the city of Green Bay, which is where the Green Bay Packers, the American football team, play from. That's their home. And so, yep, up here is the Upper Peninsula of the state of Michigan. So it's not a huge, it's a big bay, but you can see across it for sure. Number of beautiful islands along the way here. Yeah, we are making progress up toward Washington Island. Actually, are we above it already? I'm going to see if... Let's do a quick spin around here. I think we may have passed. There's a beautiful state park up here called Peninsula State Park. And it is both on the peninsula. That is Door County as a whole, but it is itself also a peninsula. I think we may have passed it already. Do a quick turnaround to show you that park. Oh yeah, we sure did. Yeah, so this whole peninsula right here, this is all Peninsula State Park. Beautiful, beautiful park. Try and get the airplane out of the way. Ephraim Gibraltar Airport is right next to one of the northern more entrances to the park. But you can see this whole area is a big state park. Absolutely gorgeous shoreline, swimming area over here, right over here. There's an island, Horseshoe Island over here. There's a swimming area over here where you can swim. Horseshoe Island is over here. You can actually take kayaks and little boats across the water over to here. There's some hiking trails along here, a golf course along here. There's a big tower, Eagle Bluff Tower, that you can look out over the water, and it's absolutely stunningly beautiful. But the island's off in the distance. It's a really beautiful place to camp, go on vacation, go hiking, go biking. Really beautiful place if you got a family or by yourself to really enjoy the outdoors in Wisconsin. Been there many times and love it a lot. All right, so we're continuing to make our way to the north and east. So I'm going to zoom back in here, get my visual references, see which way I'm going. All right, let's zoom back into our instruments. The next instrument I want to talk about is our altimeter. It shows us our altitude. Our altitude is our height, or lack thereof, above sea level. The altimeter uses air pressure to measure how high we are above sea level. So what we're going to do, we have a little window here and a dial, and we would check with the local airport before we took off to say what is the barometer pressure for the day. We would set that pressure in this dial right here. And then we would know, based on local conditions and what the weather is, what the pressure is at the altitude we are at. So as you climb, the higher you get in the atmosphere, the lower the pressure is, because there's less, the further down, the closer you are to the ground, the more the air is compressed. And so as you get up higher, there's less density in the air, and you go down lower, there's more density. And this instrument measures that difference, which is very consistent actually through the atmosphere. It measures the difference in pressure, and will produce information in the form of this altimeter setting here. There are 3 needles on this instrument. We'll start from the shortest one first. The shortest one's actually this one right here, and it measures in tens of thousands of feet. So if this one moves from 0 to 1, that means you've gone from 0 feet above sea level to 10,000 feet above sea level. If you go up to the number 2, that's 20,000 feet. Number 3 is 30,000 feet, which this poor little dial will probably, in most of its lifetime, barely ever reach the 1. Probably never going to reach the 2. This plane's not going to be climbing that high. But the altimeter is capable of doing that. It can go a lot higher. The second dial, which is the next shortest one here, the middle length dial, measures in thousands of feet. So for every, if it moves from the 0 to the 1, that's 1,000 feet of a change in altitude. If it goes to the 2, that's 2,000. 3 is 3,000, 4 is 4,000, and so on. Then, logically speaking, you can make the assumption, which would be accurate, that the longest dial here, it measures in hundreds of feet. So if you go from 0 to 1, you've gone from 0 to 100 feet. 2 is 200 feet. 3 is 300 feet. So when you put all these together, you can get a pretty good reading on your altitude. If this dial, let's look at it right now, is a little bit above 0, which means we are less than 10,000 feet, but more than 0. If we look at this one, the next one up, we are above 2,000, above the 2, so we're more than 2,000 feet up, but we're not to 3, so it's 2,000 something. And if we wanted to find the something, we would go to the next dial, and we would see it's just above the 4. So we would be able to say that we are at 400. This one's showing us a little over 400 feet. So when you put them all together, we have 0 10,000s, 2,000s, and 400s. So that puts us at about 2,400. Let me put us back down a little bit. We're a little over 2,400 feet above sea level. Now the trick is that the ground is not at sea level. So I believe Lake Michigan that we're flying over here is somewhere around 500 or 600 feet above sea level, something like that. So we have to factor that in when we're flying. If we were to go down and think that we could fly all the way down to 0 before we touch the ground, we would be sorely mistaken. We would actually probably hit the water down there at about 500 or 600 feet, which would be bad for us. So you got to keep that in mind as you're flying. So that's your altimeter. It shows you how high you are. So again, we're going to be putting this together with information from the attitude indicator and the airspeed indicator. So as we climb, we can put our nose up on the attitude indicator, and we will see that change in attitude indicated with a climb on our attitude indicator. we will see a climb start to take place. We will also see a drop in airspeed. As we pull our nose up, our airspeed will decrease. Our altitude will increase because we are exchanging airspeed for altitude. We swap those out. Or if we put the nose down, it will increase in airspeed and decrease in altitude because we got to trade one for the other. So that's that. That's the altimeter. Now our other instrument, this tells us how high we are. This tells us how fast we're going. We're going to go down here to our heading indicator. Our heading indicator tells us which direction we're going. Now you might ask the question, hey Ben, why in the world would we have a heading indicator when we also have a compass right here? This guy right here is a compass. The thing with compasses is they can be finicky. They display changes in direction slowly. They bounce around a lot, as you can see. And when you make turns from certain directions, they have inaccuracies that they produce because of the nature of the fact they're magnets and the way that they're built. So they work if you're in a pinch and it's required to have them in the airplane because you still need them as a reference to help you set up your heading indicator. But the heading indicator is better for it's better for more sort of instant information, if you will. It is built with a gyro. There's a gyroscope inside of there and it spins, and any change in direction puts a force on that gyroscope, and the airplane, in a sense, the gyroscope likes to stay rigid in the air. It doesn't like to move or change direction because of the nature of a gyroscope. And so actually you see this right here, the co-pilot in the flight simulator is telling we need to reset our heading indicator because it's not exactly accurate. But I'll explain that in a second. So basically when the airplane turns, the plane turns around the gyroscope, and the gyroscope likes to stay in the same place. The problem with the gyroscope is it's not perfectly accurate all the time. The relationship between the airplane and the gyroscope inside the heading indicator doesn't always say, it doesn't stay perfectly rigid. And so there will be a little bit of a change once in a while where, let's see what we got here. So our compass is showing about 4 degrees and we are showing about 35 over here on the heading indicator. So you can see we're off maybe about 5 degrees. Let me see if I can move this. I don't know. I can't see what I'm doing. It's not making it very easy. I'm doing the wrong one. Sorry. It's this knob right here. Oh, well. So we've adjusted it a little bit. But the idea is you can use this knob to turn the dial here to make it accurate. I'm going to start doing circles. We're almost to our destination here. Before we land, though, I want to show you another set of instrumentation, and we'll talk about that in the middle. It's a little different than our 6-pack. So we're going to do laps around the island here for a little bit before we land and switch planes, switch instrument packs. This is our heading indicator, and it shows us which direction we're going. So what direction are we going? At the moment, let me do a bit of a turn here. And if we put this directly on the little end there, that is north, okay? And you can see here along the outside, we have north, east, south, and west. The indication at the top is the direction that we were flying in. So we are going north right now. And then you can see this broken down. The numbers on here are the number of degrees on a compass. And actually what you need to do is remove a 0 on the end of these in order to get the actual number of degrees. So the number 3 here is actually 30 degrees. The number 6 is 60 degrees. East is 90 degrees. And then we have 120, 150, 180 for south, 210, 240, 270 for west, 300 degrees, 330 degrees, and the north is 360 degrees. So if you ever hear 360, heading of 360, that means straight north. So let's turn again, make a left turn. And you can see as we turn that compass card, or that heading indicator card, will turn for us. Let's do a 360 degree turn back to north. All of that working because of that gyroscope inside of there. So yeah, we get a much better turn reading more sort of, in a sense, up to date. Up to date is not really the best word for it because it's not dates. It's like to the second. It's more accurate and more precise as you're doing it. Though every now and again you do need to double check it against the compass. And the time to do that with the compass is when you are flying straight and level, unaccelerated. So get yourself up where you're not turning, you're not climbing or descending, and you're not accelerating or decelerating. We call it straight and level, unaccelerated flight. And then you can look at your compass and see what direction you're heading and make adjustments then to your heading indicator, and that will make your heading indicator readings much more accurate. So we are almost through to a west heading on our way back to north. There we go. There's west. And pretty soon we will be back to flying to the north. But yeah, it's pretty simple. The heading indicator is just a dial on there, and as you turn, it changes direction so you know which direction you're heading. Again, this works together with the heading indicator. You can see on our attitude indicator. You can see, there we go, back to north. You can see on our attitude indicator that we were making a turn, and as we're making that turn, you can see the heading indicator change as well. Again, left turn, and you can see the heading indicator change. So if you ever lost your attitude indicator, if it ever stopped working on you, you can actually look down at your heading indicator and go, oh, my heading indicator is changing. That must mean I'm in a turn. So if this was all blocked off, you couldn't see it, you might be able to, you can look down at your heading indicator and see, oh, look at that, I'm making a turn. Let's talk about two other instruments real quick, and then we'll put all these pieces of the puzzle together. We'll land, we'll make a quick change in aircraft so you can see one other system for handling all this kind of stuff. And it's pretty fun. This down here is our turn coordinator, and as you can see, we are in a turn to the left. The turn coordinator helps us make our turns coordinated. Ironically, not ironically, literally. When we turn, the little airplane up here shows us our rate of turn. If we were to fly, give me 1 second, I want to be more headed toward land. I don't want to go out to sea and get lost here. If we were to fly straight and level, this little airplane would level out just like this. So now you see that little plane is leveled out. But if we wanted to make a turn that was consistent in the number of degrees that we change in a given period of time, what we can do is turn the plane until we see the tip of that, the left tip of that little wing down there on our turn coordinator down here. You see the tip of the wing is hitting this tick mark. And if we stay on that tick mark right there while we're turning, we will know that we can make a 360-degree turn in 2 minutes, perfectly on 2 minutes. And that is important when you get into instrument rating kind of things, because you will need to make timed turns. So you'll fly an instrument approach. And remember, you can't, in an instrument conditions, you can't see out the windscreen or out the windows. You're using only your instruments. And you will make a perfectly, if you're going to 180-degree turn, you can make that turn in 1 minute exactly. And those are intended to keep you flying in a safe area to set you up for approaches and for flying departures and arrivals in a safe, efficient way. So that's really important for that. On the bottom of our turn coordinator down here, we have what is called the skid slip indicator. And what this does is it shows us the relationship of our rudder. So if I push on the rudder, on the left rudder pedal, watch what happens. Whoa, that ball slides out. I'll keep the ailerons to the right. You can see that ball slides way out to the right. And what that is that's centrifugal force of the turn throwing the ball to the outside, which means we're not in a coordinated turn. We are not making a precise, efficient turn because we're sliding or skidding to the outside. And if I was to push the right rudder, you can see that ball slides to the left. Now, the way to keep your turns what will happen anytime, if I'm going to make a turn with my ailerons, if you watch this turn coordinator down here, watch the ball, I will go into a turn. And in the very instant that I make the turn, you will see this ball slide to the outside of the turn. So watch the ball, and I'm going to make a turn in 3, 2, 1. See that ball slide outside there? I'm sorry, to the inside. It went to the inside. And that's because we tipped the wing, but the plane didn't start turning right away. So the centrifugal force of the turn wasn't pulling this ball down toward the bottom of the tube here. And so because gravity, right, we do this, gravity pulled the ball down toward this side because we are turning toward the right. And so the ball went to the right. So the way to fix this, the way to keep a coordinated turn is to use a little bit of rudder. So I'll do a turn this time. Now my rudder's goofy in this setup here. So my rudder is not very accurate. Sometimes when I push the rudder a little bit, it deflects the rudder entirely, like 100% rudder. So we'll see what we do here. And I will make a turn and I will try and keep that turn coordinated. So watch down here. Ready? 3, 2, 1. And add a little rudder, probably a little too much rudder. But you see how much better that was? The ball didn't slide to the inside of the tube here. It went a little bit outside because my rudder over controls. It went outside a little bit. But so the purpose of that is to keep our turns coordinated. This works a lot like if you've ever been on a commercial airline and you had a drink on your tray and the plane makes a turn. The drink in your cup doesn't actually, like if your cup tips with the turn of the plane, the drink in your cup doesn't tilt the other way. The drink in your cup actually matches, the liquid in your cup matches the angle that you are banking in the plane. And that's because that turn is coordinated. If the pilot was to tap the rudder and get the plane uncoordinated, all of a sudden your drink would tip the other direction. You'd have kind of a messy situation. So that's our turn coordinator. One last instrument here is our vertical speed indicator. This one tells us how fast, at what rate we are climbing or descending. So you can see right now, 0 means we are not climbing or descending. 5, each one of these tick marks is 100 feet per minute. So if we go up to the 5 here, that means we are climbing at a rate of 500 feet per minute. Let's see if I can get it up there. I think I can do 1,000. Oh, 1,500 feet a minute. That's not going to be good for our airspeed. 1,000 feet per minute. Can we do it? Can we do it? Can we do it? We're going to full power, full power, full power. 1,000 feet a minute. Can we do it and maintain it? It's one or the other. One or the other. Can we do it? There we go. 1,000 feet a minute. So that is going to help us know how fast are we climbing. And that's important for making we want to be in a controlled sort of situation and we want to make a gentle climb or a gentle descent. Or climb out at a certain rate so that we know we're going to avoid certain obstacles or things like that. We will use our vertical speed indicator for that. And again, this vertical speed indicator also, when using them with other instruments, will help us see when we're having problems with other instruments. So again, if I lose my attitude indicator, but I look down here and I see that my vertical speed indicator is up above 0, that means I'm in a little bit of a climb, doesn't it? And we can see that here again. So if I push the nose down, get us straight and level, we're going to lose some altitude for just a minute. Our nose is straight and level, but we're in a little bit of a descent. See? So with all these 6-pack instruments together, we can actually piece together a pretty good indication of what we're doing in the air. We can look at sorry, we're in a kind of a shady spot here, so the lighting isn't amazing. But we can look here and we can say, oh, look at this. I am in a turn to the right, but I am not climbing or descending. And I can look over here and confirm that. Yeah, I'm about 85 knots. My airspeed's not changing too horribly much. I am at 2,780 feet above sea level. And I am turning through the direction of west here in just a minute. And I'm making a relatively coordinated turn. And I can see my vertical speed moving around a little bit. So again, this is why all these instruments, when you put them together, they work really well to help us understand what we're doing and where we're going. I do want to show you another way of doing all this in just a minute. But let's to do that, let's take us back to where have we gone? Oh, and got ourselves lost. All that talking. I have not figured out where in the world I am. Oh, this way. This way. Let's go back to Washington Island where we said we were going to land. Let's shop the power and lose some airspeed and altitude. And find us the airport. Yeah, there's our airport. Oh, we got a ways to go here. That's all right. Set up on just a long final here to Washington Island Airport. Look at this gorgeous scenery. This is the state of Wisconsin at its finest. I highly recommend coming during the summer and the fall. It is absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. To Washington Island, there's a ferry actually that will take you across. You can put a vehicle on the ferry if you want. Bring your car over to the island and drive around the island. A lot of people, it's not a huge island. It's great actually for biking if you wanted to take a bicycle and ride around the island on a bike. It's gorgeous for that. It's a little bit of a long walk if you're going to walk from where the pier is to where a lot of where some of the businesses and things are. In theory, you could walk it, but it's a long day. Probably not suggested. However, there is, I think there's like a tram that will take you around the island and you can ride around there's kind of stops in areas where there's things to see. And so they will take you around to those locations to enjoy your day on Washington Island. All right, we are getting close to being on final approach here. Look at this again. Absolutely beautiful out here. Yeah, I believe this is the dock area of the bay where the ferry lands. Washington Island Ferry. Take you from basically the tip of the peninsula of the Door County Peninsula on a ferry boat, which is fun in and of itself. Enjoy the ride over. I really love traveling to islands, visiting islands and getting out near the water. I really need to slow down here. There you can see my airspeed's coming down and pulling the nose up, losing some airspeed. My altitude comes up a little bit though when I do that too, so I have to decrease some power. Trade some of that off. I'm going to put in a couple notches of flaps. Slow me down and keep flying. This is a grass strip, so coming in and landing in the grass, which is always a lot of fun. So yeah, this has been the 6-pack of instruments to show you how kind of get my feet on the rudder pedals here so that I'm ready to land when the time comes. And I'm going to show you something a little bit different called the primary flight display. It's a little bit different way of, and a little bit more modern way of doing this instrumentation and giving you all the same information as the 6-pack. Yeah, that will be a great way of showing you a bit of a more modern way of doing all that. So here we go. A little off center here. There we go. Welcome to Washington Island, everybody. So I'm going to take and switch us over here once we get stopped. Switch us over to the Cessna 172 with the electronic primary flight display. I'm not sure, to tell you the honest truth. I think I landed in the grass next to the runway. I'm on the runway. I'm on the runway. You can see the lights over here and over here. So I was a little bit left to center line, but it's all good. So let's go back. We'll end our flight. We will get the Cessna with the Garmin setup going here. And we will show you the primary flight display. The G1000 as it's called. There we go. Save that. And we'll go back to Washington Island from runway 2, which is the one that we just landed on. And I do want this during the day. Sorry, I got to set up for our nice October weather again. A few clouds. Try and keep things consistent for you here. All right. See if I did this right. Zoom us back in here. So the primary flight display, all that information that we had in that 6-pack of instruments, we're going to have sort of in one display. It's a lot of information all in one place. But in some ways, it's a little bit more efficient than the 6 instruments. You're not bopping your eyes back and forth. You're not having to do quite as much of a scan as you would have with the, here we go, with the 6-pack. So here, what we have here is some of the same information. Basically, we have our heading indicator right here. This is our imitation, our pretend airplane, right? So this is our level line. We're a bit nose high, obviously, because we're on the ground with the tails down and the nose is up. So this is going to be our attitude indicator, and the whole screen, in a sense, becomes the attitude indicator. You'll see this is the ground, the green on the bottom and the blue on top. And you'll see as we get going, excuse me, the whole screen becomes the attitude indicator. So it's really nice that way. And then what we have is our airspeed indicators over here. You can see we're at 0. And we have the red mark to show us that we're not flying fast enough. Here's our white arc, and we'll see our green arc above there. We'll also have an indication of reading of our actual airspeed right here on the indicator. On the right side here, we have our altitude. So we're at 640 feet above sea level when we're on the ground. Remember, just because you're on the ground, on the ground doesn't mean you're at 0 altitude. We are 640 feet, 630 maybe above sea level. And then we have our vertical speed indicator right here, and we will get a reading of our vertical speed over here. And then we have our heading indicator right here. Basically looks the same as the heading indicator that we had with the card in the, we call them steam gauges in that 6-pack, steam gauges. And then we have a bunch of other information over here that you couldn't even see before because most of that stuff was down kind of over here on the panel before. So now we have, let's do this. And you'll see also we have some backup instruments down here. If this electronic display ever fails, we have the most critical instruments down here to help us out if we ever have problems. So we have our tachometer to see what our RPM for our engine is, fuel flow, oil pressure, oil temperature, exhaust gas temperature, vacuum strength, and our fuel quantity. That's the gas gauge right there. So we got all that stuff right there to make things nice. We have another setup over here. This one isn't turned on yet, but there's we use this side for navigation. So we got our map over here and GPS stuff going on over there. There's our tablet. So we're going to fly with this one a little bit, and just to kind of show you the difference and how this works between the steam gauges with a 6-pack and our primary, our PFD, our primary flight display. So let's bring this up to full power. We will take off from Washington Island. We go. We'll let the brakes go, making full power. A bit of right rudder, building some airspeed. You're going to see this come alive here in just a second. There we go. 23, 24, 25. It's our airspeed coming up. Airspeed is coming up. Airspeed is coming up. We are in the white arc. Now we are in the green arc. So we got plenty of airspeed. Pull the nose back, and look at that. We are off the ground just like that. Look at that beautiful day here. Oh, there you go. You can see we're doing a little bit of a turn there. Trying to keep it straight and level, Ben. Climbing out past the hills. There you go. And you can see what I mean by the whole screen becomes the attitude indicator. The blue and the green. Look at that. And this one, it's even showing this is where the land ends and here's where the water begins. So it's a really cool way of being able to see what is going on here. See that? We're about to fly off the end of the island here, so you can see the water start to happen. So we see our altitude start to pick up, 1,200 feet, going through 1,200 feet. Airspeed is at 70 knots, and we are climbing out at 600, 500, 600, 700 feet per minute. So Look at that. All that great information on one screen, all together in one place. Again, here's our heading. We're at about a 3030 heading as we're climbing off from Washington Island. I'm just going to give you a few minutes here to enjoy this incredible Wisconsin scenery. In fact, let's do this. Let's take you to an external camera. It's worth the view today, man. Let's get our flaps back up. So FlightNerdAirForce.com. Yeah, we're a website. We love to do aviation training. If you love aviation and love to learn more about it, we'd love to have you come visit the site, www.FlightNerdAirForce.com. We have a free community membership there that you can sign up for. We also have a newsletter. It's only $5 a month, the cost of a cup of coffee, and you can get the information, the same information. You'll get a weekly update where we share stuff, the same information that you would need to pass your FAA written exams. We break it down into bite-sized chunks, and we deliver it right to your email inbox so that you can read that information, you can study that, and if you study all those lessons over a period of time, you will be ready to take your FAA written exam for your private pilot. Someday I'd love to do it for instrument rating as well. And then any issues that are back issues that you don't already have, you weren't there when they went live, they're also available in the library as well. So you can go back and look at those. $5 a month, that's like nothing. Think ground school for $5 a month, delivered directly to your email address. So we'd love to have you sign up for that. But you can go to the website and check that out, www.FlightNerdAirForce.com. I'd love to hear what you guys think of all this. Leave any comments for me here about how is all this? Are these instruments, are they all making sense? Do you think that you could find your way around Door County, Wisconsin using these instruments again? So we took off way down here. This is the northeastern tip of Door County, Wisconsin, the peninsula. And we are out over Washington Island right here. Love this part of the country. Love it, love it, love it. Let's go around and we will shoot the pattern here a little bit. Make final approach into Washington Island Airport in Door County, Wisconsin. And you can actually see on my screen here some of the same information. It looks like the primary flight display. It's using that sort of scrolling way of displaying our altitude here. Flaps indication, trim, vertical speed is all here. Our engine RPM and airspeed, all the stuff is displaying on the flight simulator screen, very similar to our primary flight display. We should slow her down. This is, we're not flying by the numbers today. I'm mostly trying to show you how these instruments work. So I'm not attempting to fly these patterns in a way. Let's get down inside the white arc. There we go. Get our flaps in. I'm not trying to fly in a way that's the appropriate way to fly this plane. If you were in a real airplane, I was just trying to show you the instruments today. There we go. I need to lose some altitude pretty quick here.
500.
Coming into Washington Island, Wisconsin. Love this place. Trying to avoid the trees. Look at that. Birds are chirping. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Grass runway. Life doesn't get much better than this. There we go. There we go. Love it. Love it. Wisconsin's a beautiful place. We'd love to have you come join us at FlightNerdAirForce.com. Learn more about this kind of stuff. Learn more how to use your simulator well. If you really enjoy messing around on the simulator but want to know what you're doing. I know a lot of people just go on there and fuss around and play. This is a really long touch and go. I do not recommend this in the real world. But if you want to know how to fool around on your flight simulator and know what you're doing and know why things work the way they work and why they're not working the way you're trying to do it, if you're not doing it the right way, come check us out. You'll learn how aviation works, how airplanes fly. We have a membership as well. That is, we call it our briefing room squadron, where you can get ground school for private pilot license if you want to prep to take your FAA written exams. A briefing room squadron will let you do that. We have the private pilot ground school, as well as a community to answer all your questions if you get stuck on anything, and a growing library of information just like this, videos like this, to help you understand how airplanes work, how to pass your FAA written exam, which for many folks is a bit of a challenging exam. Yes, you need to know the stuff, the aviation information in order to pass the exam, but it really also helps to know how to take the exam in a way that you'll be ready to pass it. Sometimes the nature of the question sometimes can be tricky, and knowing how to study for those questions is really important. So if you ever thought about that, if you ever became interested in wanting to actually get a pilot's license and take your FAA written exam in preparation for that, that'd be a great way to do it. It's called our briefing room squadron. You can check out more information for that on www.flightnerdairforce.com. You can actually take an FAA written exam, and it will stay active for you for 24 months after you take it. So you've got 2 years between taking that exam, passing that exam, and needing to finish up your flight training for actually getting a pilot's license. So you can, I think an instructor would love it if you were able to go and knock out your ground school, understand the theory of the aviation stuff, and then show up at the airport to fly, and you've already learned all that great stuff before you even set foot in a plane or even sat down in the cockpit of the plane. Because you will be a long way ahead there for that instructor, and they'll be able to help you out getting you in the plane. You've got a lot of things going for you at that point. So I'd love for you to check that out, our briefing room squadron, which is a monthly or annual membership. Or again, if you're not really ready to commit to that big a deal, you can just do our monthly newsletter. $5 a month. That's nothing. That's nothing to get all that great aviation content. So love to have you join us in there. All right. Final approach again, Washington Island. We're going to set her down here, and we're going to go get a cup of coffee on Washington Island, Wisconsin here. Go check out the bay. There's a beautiful beach just up ahead here that's just got a bunch of really beautiful smooth stones as the beach. It's a great place to go and look at the water and really enjoy the beauty of Lake Michigan, of Green Bay. Enjoy the incredible beauty of the state of Wisconsin. So there we go. Washington Island, Wisconsin, everybody. Cessna 172, you know everything you need to know about the 6-pack of instruments and primary flight display. There's a lot more. we actually could get into a lot more detail, but this is what we're going to do today, because this is what we have time for. I hope it's been helpful for you. Again, I'd love to see you over at flightnerdairforce.com. Join our free community and get you in there, get you plugged into the community and learning more about the world of aviation that you love. All right, guys, we're going to call this it for today. Have a great day.